Political Parties of Scotland. Your presenter is Mary O'Donovan. In Scotland, there are many political parties which run in our Scottish parliamentary election to gain seats in our parliament, Holyrood. That is Holyrood, by the way, not Hollywood. The most prominent political parties in Scotland are the SNP, the Scottish Tories, Scottish Labour, Scots Greens, the Alba Party, the Scottish Lib Dems. This is Sinn News with Mary O'Donovan. The SNP or Scottish National Party has been the dominant force of Scottish politics and has been the governing party of Scotland since 2007. They are the oldest Scottish political party formed in 1934, gaining popularity through their push for Scottish independence, and until recently the party has been synonymous with Scottish independence, even getting the Scottish independence referendum or IndieF won in 2014. The SNP are a big tent party, meaning they contain many political ideologies including both progressivism, conservatism and traditionalism, though the progressive, left-wing has been the most predominant group in the party since 1979. The SNP has supplied three of Scotland's first ministers, Alex Salmond, the leader of the SNP for around 20 years, Nicola Sturgeon, the longest-serving First Minister and the only woman in the role, and Humza Yousaf, the only Scottish Pakistani ethnic minority First Minister. The SNP are neutral on keeping the British monarchy after independence, though contain many Republicans such as current leader Humza Yousaf. The SNP's strategy to gain Scottish independence is to use the next UK general election in 2024 as a poll on independence, then beginning immediate negotiations if the SNP win a majority of the seats. Next, the Scottish Tories. The Scottish Tories or Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party are part of the UK Conservative Party who characterise themselves as the only party able to stop a second SNP independence referendum. During the 1990s the Scottish Tories opposed devolution, which was when the Scottish people voted on whether or not they wanted a Scottish Parliament, though now the Scottish Tories are only able to have a voice in Scotland due to Scottish elections, with them being absolutely crushed along with all other parties by the SNP at UK general elections. The Scottish Tory leader is currently Douglas Ross, who interestingly serves as both an MP in the UK Parliament and an MSP in the Scottish Parliament, costing the highest amount of expenses in the Scottish Parliament, despite not being in government. Thirdly, we have Scottish Labour. Scottish Labour is a part of the UK Labour Party, and, like the Scottish Tories, has been criticised as just being a branch office. They are generally a left-wing party, and are the only other party to have ever won Scottish elections apart from the SNP. They have produced three First Ministers, Donald Dewar, Henry McLeish and Jack McConnell. Scottish Labour fell from grace as the dominant Scottish party in 2007 when they spent 37 years fighting equal pay for women in Glasgow and crashed the Scottish NHS into £6 billion of debt. They were also ridiculed for building only 6 houses during their time in office. Prominent members of the party also made nasty attacks against independent supporters, which made the massive nationalist Labour wing flock to the SNP. The current leader of Scottish Labour is Anas Sarwar, another Scottish Pakistani, and his deputy is Dame Jackie Baillie, who has come under controversy recently for conspiring with Labour lords to vote down daily COVID briefings, which gave essential information about COVID to families. Next there are the Scots Greens. The Scots Greens have two co-leaders, Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater. The Greens have always had some elected representation in Holyrood, though recently they have had a massive resurgence and are currently in government with the SNP. They have been described as a diet socialist party or even as a co-socialists, and are generally radically progressive and left-wing, supporting both Scottish independence and Scottish republicanism. The Scots Greens have their main voter base in young people who seem to have switched from the SNP to the Scots Greens as their main party. Then there is the Alba Party. The Alba Party was set up by former SNP leader and First Minister Alex Salmond in 2021 after a row in which he was accused of sexual harassment. Salmond believed this was a conspiracy theory against him and created the Alba Party, another party focused on Scottish independence but made of those who despised Nicola Sturgeon, the SNP leadership, and progressive SNP policies. The Alba Party's main objective is to replace the SNP as the dominant pro-independence force, though they are mainly united by anti-SNP leadershipism and anti-progressivism. The Alba Party is still mainly divided upon its independence strategy, its stance on LGBT people, and how it conducts its activity. Thank you for listening.